The galaxy had always laughed at humans. To the Zelvar, a species of enormous warriors with scales that shimmered like molten metal, humans were fragile, weak, and unremarkable. In grand council halls that floated among the stars, Zelvar generals would lean over glowing tables and mock Earth's defenses. They might survive a few skirmishes, one would say, but real war will crush them like insects. Another would laugh, a deep rumble that shook the hall. They are nothing, just a primitive species clinging to a small blue world. They are not worthy of even notice. But the humans listened, not with fear, not with anger, but with quiet determination. On the bridge of the horizon, the flagship of the Terran fleet, Commander Alara Voss stood tall, her eyes scanning the holographic display of the galaxy. She had heard this kind of talk before. Every alien species underestimated humanity. Every single time. And every single time humans had proven them wrong. Alara's jaw was tight, her lips pressed together, but there was fire in her chest. A spark that refused to be extinguished by ridicule or doubt. She remembered the first time she had led her crew in a skirmish against a far stronger enemy. Everyone had said it was impossible. Yet her small fleet had survived. Not because they had bigger guns, but because they had heart. Because humans never gave up. Now the galaxy was laughing again and Earth was being challenged. The Zelvar had sent a formal message, a demand for a demonstration of strength at the edge of the Andaris sector. It was a trap, a show of arrogance meant to humiliate humans before the rest of the galaxy. Many in the Terran Council had hesitated. The odds were overwhelming. The Zelvar fleet outnumbered humanity 10-1, and their warships were designed to crush planets. But Alara knew something the Zelvar did not. Humans never measured strength the way aliens did. Humans fought with courage, with ingenuity, with a stubbornness that could turn desperation into victory. She had seen it on battlefields in the eyes of soldiers who refused to retreat even when hope seemed lost. Humans had a way of surviving against impossible odds, not because of their weapons, but because of their spirit. As the Terran fleet prepared to depart, the docks were filled with activity. Engineers ran across the decks checking shields and weapons. Pilots strapped themselves into cockpits, their hands shaking but their hearts steady. Families waved to their loved ones, their faces proud yet anxious. For every human stepping into the void, there was someone waiting back home holding on to hope. Alara walked along the deck, stopping to look each soldier in the eye. "You are the shield of humanity," she said softly, but every word carried weight. "They think we are weak. Let us show them the truth." Her voice did not tremble, though her heart beat fast. She did not promise victory, only effort, courage, and unity. That was enough. Even the youngest pilot, barely out of training, could feel the magnitude of the moment. He looked at the stars, trembling but determined. "We may be small," he whispered to his squadron leader, "but we are human. That counts for something." The others nodded, and a quiet energy spread through the fleet. It was not arrogance, but resolve. It was not fear, but fire. The horizon slipped out of Earth's orbit, leaving behind the blue and green planet that had nurtured humanity for thousands of years. Every ship in the fleet carried with it the dreams, the courage, and the hearts of millions. The Zelvar fleet awaited them in the Andaris sector, confident that the humans would break before the battle began. But humans had a secret weapon the galaxy could never understand. Not speed, not firepower, not shields. Heart, courage, loyalty. The refusal to give up even in the face of annihilation. Every human in the fleet carried that within them. And as the stars stretched into streaks of light in hyperspace, Commander Voss allowed herself a small smile. "They think we are weak," she whispered to herself. "They have no idea." The galaxy had laughed at humans for centuries. Soon the laughter would die. Soon every species would learn the hard truth. Humans were not weak. They were unbreakable. And the story of their courage was about to begin. The Terran fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Andaris sector. Stars stretched into long trails of light as ships blinked into reality. Thousands of vessels of every size and shape, all moving with quiet precision. Each ship carried the heart of humanity, every pilot, soldier, and engineer ready to face the might of the Zelvar. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the horizon, her hands gripping the rail. Her eyes scanned the glowing outlines of the Zelvar fleet in the distance. Massive dreadnoughts floating like metallic mountains against the backdrop of black space. Their size was intimidating. Their weapons were legendary, and their expressions, visible through the shimmering energy of their hulls, held a confidence that humans had no chance. "They are enormous," whispered one of the young pilots beside her, voice trembling. We can't fight them." Alara turned and looked at the boy, her eyes soft but firm. "You can," she said quietly. "We don't fight like they do. We don't need to. We fight with our minds, with our courage, and with each other. You are stronger than you think. You always have been." Even as she spoke, the human ships moved into formation. The smaller frigates weaved around the carriers. The destroyers fell into coordinated patterns, and the scouting drones spread out ahead, sending real-time data back to the bridge. The Zelvar had numbers, but humans had strategy and heart. The first communication from the Zelvar crackled through the comms. A deep, metallic voice full of arrogance and amusement. "Humans, you dare enter our territory. Do you not see the folly of your species? Your fleet is fragile, your courage meaningless. Prepare to be destroyed." There was silence on the bridge for a moment. Then Alara lifted her chin. "They are wrong," she said simply. "They always are." The Terran fleet advanced. Smaller ships darted like silver fish between the massive Zelvar warships. Every move was careful, precise, but full of daring. Pilots knew the odds. They knew that one miscalculation could mean death. Yet fear did not freeze them. Instead, it sharpened their focus. It reminded them of why they fought. For their families, their homes, their people. Alara's voice echoed through the comms. "All units maintain formation. Watch for flanks. Protect each other. Remember, they underestimate us. That is our advantage. Humans adapt. Humans endure. Humans survive." A few Zelvar eyes widened across the battlefield as they noticed how coordinated the humans were. They had expected panic, chaos, and retreat. Instead, they saw strategy, precision, and determination. The humans were not running. They were dancing around danger with intelligence and courage, turning every perceived weakness into strength. On one small cruiser, a young engineer named Mara adjusted the shields. Sparks flew as systems overloaded, but she worked quickly, shouting to her team, "Hold together! We are not breaking." "Not today!" Her voice carried through the ship, and a ripple of energy seemed to pass through the fleet. Every human felt it, the refusal to surrender. Even the Zelvar, who had mocked humanity for centuries, could not hide their surprise. They began whispering among themselves, their confidence shaken. How are they so coordinated?" one asked. "They should have fallen already." Alara watched the young pilots maneuver through the dangerous gaps between the dreadnoughts. She remembered the countless drills, the late nights training, the endless calculations that had gone into this mission. Every human ship carried not just technology, but ingenuity, courage, and hope. And that hope was infectious. It moved through the fleet like a quiet, unstoppable river. The sun of Andaris sector bathed the fleet in a golden light, highlighting the determination in human faces. Families back home would never see the fear in their eyes. Only the bravery, the resilience, the stubborn refusal to be defeated. That was what made them different. That was what made humans dangerous in a way the galaxy could not measure with size or firepower. As the Zelvar fleet prepared to strike, Alara whispered to herself, "They think they have already won. Let them look again. Let them see what humans truly are." And with that, the Terran fleet held its line, ready to face the storm, ready to prove to the galaxy that the humans they had mocked for centuries were far stronger than anyone had ever imagined. The silence of space shattered as the first shots rang out. Plasma fire arced across the darkness, illuminating the void with brilliant streaks of blue and orange. The Zelvar fleet advanced with terrifying power, their massive dreadnoughts moving like unstoppable mountains. Each ship seemed almost alive, pulsating with energy, ready to crush everything in its path. The human fleet responded not with raw firepower but with agility and cunning. Smaller frigates darted between the colossal Zelvar ships, weaving in patterns that seemed impossible. Guided missiles traced graceful arcs, hitting weak points in alien shields. It was not the strength of humans that impressed the galaxy. It was their cleverness, their ability to adapt, their refusal to be cowed by fear. On the bridge of the horizon, Commander Alara Voss barked orders with calm authority. "Left flank full speed, protect the carriers, shield the frigates." Her voice was steady, but inside her heart raced. Every human ship she commanded was precious, every life a spark that could not be replaced. Yet there was no hesitation in her commands. Every move was calculated, precise, meant to turn danger into opportunity. A young pilot, barely out of training, struggled to keep her ship steady as a Zelvar destroyer loomed above. Her hands shook, sweat beading on her forehead. She radioed the horizon, voice trembling. "Commander, I can't." Alara cut in immediately, her tone firm but warm. "Yes, you can. Trust yourself. Trust your ship. Trust your crew. You are human. That is enough." The young pilot inhaled, gripping the controls. Something inside her clicked. Fear did not vanish, but courage replaced hesitation. She maneuvered around the massive alien vessel, dodging plasma blasts that could vaporize her ship in seconds. With a sharp twist, she fired, hitting the destroyer's energy core. The Zelvar ship shuddered violently, sparks scattering into the void. A cheer erupted through the comms. One human victory, small but meaningful, and it spread hope like wildfire. Meanwhile, on other ships, similar stories unfolded. Engineers patched shields under fire. Crews worked together with perfect coordination, moving as one organism. Every loss taught a lesson. Every victory fueled determination. Humanity's approach was unlike anything the Zelvar had ever seen. They expected chaos, panic, and collapse. Instead, they witnessed intelligence, cooperation, and daring bravery. Even as human ships danced between massive enemy vessels, the Zelvar began to realize something disturbing. Their numbers, their size, their reputation, they did not guarantee victory. The humans were nimble, resilient, and unpredictable. They adapted instantly to threats, exploiting weaknesses that no Zelvar had imagined could exist. Ilara's eyes scanned the battlefield, noting every move, every explosion, every successful strike. Her crew was tired, frightened, but determined. She felt the weight of responsibility for each life aboard the fleet. And yet she also felt pride. Pride in humanity, in their courage, in the way they refused to break even when facing annihilation. The first human losses came suddenly. A small frigate was ripped apart in a flash of energy, debris scattering across the stars. The crew was gone in an instant. Silence filled the comms, broken only by the sobs and gasps of those who had witnessed it. Alara's heart clenched, but she did not allow despair to take hold. She spoke into the comms softly, her voice steady. "We honor their sacrifice. We fight harder. We survive together. This is what makes us human. Never forget it." The Zelvar fleet faltered slightly, their surprise turning into unease. They had assumed humans would crumble, that they would be easy prey. But humans had proven that fear did not control them, that danger did not dictate their choices. The alien commanders began to exchange confused glances. Some of the oldest and most ruthless among them whispered, "They are different, stronger than we imagined." Even amid the chaos, small moments of humanity shone through. A pilot rescued a fellow ship from a deadly trajectory, risking his life to save another. An engineer manually rerouted power through a failing system to keep a carrier alive. In each act, the humans displayed what no alien race could replicate: loyalty, ingenuity, and the unyielding will to survive together. Commander Ilara Voss stood tall on the bridge, watching the battlefield unfold like a complex dance. Explosions lit up space, ships twisted and turned, and humans endured. Her voice carried through the fleet once more. Hold the line. Adapt, fight for every star. They will never break us because we refuse to break ourselves. The first strike had ended. The humans were battered but unbroken. They had faced the Zelvar's initial assault and survived, showing the galaxy a glimpse of their true strength. And even as the smoke of battle drifted across the void, one truth became clear. The humans the galaxy had mocked were far stronger than anyone could have imagined. The battle raged across the Andaris sector. Plasma bolts and energy beams tore through the void, igniting explosions that could be seen from light years away. The Zelvar fleet pressed forward, confident that the humans would finally break, that the so-called weaklings would crumble beneath their superior firepower. But humans refused to falter. Smaller ships weaved between the colossal Zelvar dreadnoughts, dodging blasts that would have obliterated any ordinary vessel. Frigates coordinated attacks, drawing fire away from carriers. Drones zipped through the chaos, gathering real-time data, relaying it instantly to every human ship. The Zelvar had underestimated their opponents. They had expected panic, but found calm precision instead. On the bridge of the horizon, Commander Alara Voss observed the battlefield with sharp eyes. Her crew was exhausted, faces pale, hands trembling, hearts racing. Yet none of them had surrendered. Each human was giving everything, not just for survival but for each other. That was humanity's true strength. All units, she called out, voice steady over the comms. Remember who we are. Adapt, overcome, fight together. They think we are weak. Let's show them the truth. A young pilot, barely 16, gritted her teeth as her ship spiraled around a Zelvar dreadnought. We can't last much longer, she admitted into the comms, fear flickering in her voice. Alara's gaze softened. Yes, you can. You've survived everything the galaxy has thrown at you. You survive now, because you fight for each other. You fight for humanity. That is more powerful than their weapons. And in that moment, the human pilot felt something shift inside her. Fear remained, but it became a tool, sharpening her reflexes. Her hands moved confidently over the controls, and with one precise strike, she disabled the dreadnought's energy cannons. Sparks erupted, and a cheer went through the comms. One victory, small but significant, began to ripple through the fleet. The Zelvar were stunned. Their confidence faltered as more human ships executed daring maneuvers. Humans seemed to anticipate their moves, striking weak points in the alien fleet that had seemed invincible. Every time the Zelvar pressed forward, humans adapted, countering with intelligence and courage. It was chaos to the aliens, but humans thrived in it. On a carrier ship, Mara, a young engineer, worked tirelessly to reroute power to failing shields. "Hold together!" she shouted, sweat dripping from her brow. Her hands moved with speed and precision, refusing to let panic take over. Each ship she helped keep alive became a testament to human determination, a statement that life mattered, and that they would not surrender easily. Even the Zelvar could no longer hide their surprise. Among their generals, murmurs of doubt began to spread. "They are stronger than we believed," one whispered. "How can a species so small be so organized, so relentless?" Ilara's heart ached as she watched the first casualties of the fleet. Ships she had known by name, vessels she had led into battle countless times, were destroyed. Yet she did not allow despair to take hold. She spoke into the comms softly, her voice carrying both grief and resolve. "Every life lost is honored. Every sacrifice strengthens us. Remember them as we fight, and never forget why we endure." The turning point came when humans executed a maneuver the Zelvar had never anticipated. Small, agile ships created a diversion, luring several dreadnoughts into a narrow asteroid field. There, using precision calculations and daring bravery, the humans disabled the massive vessel's engines, leaving them adrift. Cheers erupted across human comms. One by one, they began to turn the tide. Commander Voss watched with quiet pride. She saw the Zelvar flinch, saw the confusion in their massive eyes, and knew humanity had begun to rewrite the battle. The galaxy had assumed humans were weak, fragile, incapable of standing against true power. But now, even the Zelvar generals could see that they had underestimated an indomitable spirit, a resilience that no amount of firepower could crush. The human fleet had endured the first wave, survived the impossible, and struck back with cunning precision. They had shown that strength was not only measured in size or weapons, it was measured in courage, in heart, in the unshakable will to survive and protect each other. As the Andara's sun bathed the battlefield in golden light, Alara whispered to herself, "They thought we were weak. Let them look again. Let them see what it truly means to be human." The battle was far from over. But for the first time, humans were no longer on the defensive. They were fighting back, turning despair into hope, fear into strategy, and chaos into victory. The galaxy was beginning to learn a truth that no alien had fully understood. Humans were not weak. Humans were unbreakable. The Andaris sector was a storm of light and fire. Debris drifted silently through the void, remnants of ships that had once carried the hopes and dreams of humans. The Zelvar fleet, though battered, pressed forward, their confidence shaken but not gone. The humans, exhausted and wounded, held their positions, their spirits unbroken despite the immense cost. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the horizon, eyes scanning the fleet. Ships that had been her pride now floated shattered and lifeless, their crews lost forever. A lump rose in her throat as she recalled the names of each fallen pilot, each engineer, each soldier. These were not statistics. They were people, friends, comrades, heroes, and their sacrifice was etched into the heart of every surviving human. "Bridge, we've lost the Aurora," a young officer shouted, panic threading his voice. "Full crew gone, Commander." Alara's hand gripped the rail tightly. She did not flinch, though her heart ached. "Then we honor them," she said, her voice steady. "Their courage fuels us. Their sacrifice strengthens us. We carry them with every move, every strike. Humanity survives because of them." Across the fleet, humans were performing acts of bravery that would be remembered for generations. A pilot flew directly into the path of a massive Zelvar dreadnought, drawing its fire away from a smaller ship carrying critical reinforcements. Another engineer manually guided a failing ship through a field of burning debris, sacrificing sleep, safety, and certainty to save her comrades. Every act of courage, every choice to endure despite fear, was a message to the galaxy. Humans would not be broken. On the horizon, Alara felt the weight of leadership more heavily than ever. Every loss was personal. Every life lost was a reminder of what was at stake. Yet she could not allow grief to paralyze her. She spoke into the comms, her voice carrying both sorrow and resolve. "To all units, we mourn our losses, but we do not stop. We fight for those who cannot. We fight for humanity. Stand together. Protect each other. Survive." Even as humans continued to strike against the Zelvar, the enemy began to sense a change. The aliens had expected humans to break under pressure, to falter under overwhelming odds. But now, with every lost ship, humans became stronger in spirit. Every sacrifice was a spark, igniting courage in those still alive. The Zelvar commanders exchanged uneasy glances, confusion and fear creeping into their voices. Why do they not collapse?" one hissed. "They are only flesh and bone. They should be afraid. They should be weak." Ilara's eyes swept across the bridge, resting briefly on each crew member. Fatigue weighed heavily on their shoulders, yet their eyes burned with determination. She thought of the families waiting at home, the children who looked to the stars with hope, and the countless humans who had never left Earth, but whose courage had traveled with them. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. Humanity was fighting for everything they represented: loyalty, hope, love, and the unshakable will to endure. In the chaos, a young pilot radioed in, voice trembling but fierce. "Commander, I lost my co-pilot. I can't do this alone. Alara's voice was firm yet tender. You are not alone. Humanity is with you. Every ship, every crew member, every heartbeat in this fleet fights alongside you. That is strength no enemy can take. The young pilot inhaled sharply, adjusting her course. Her fear did not vanish, but it became fuel for courage. She struck the enemy with precision, taking down one of the Zelvar warships in a blaze of light. Across the fleet, similar victories began to occur. Losses were heavy, but each one was met with resilience. Each sacrifice became a stepping stone to triumph. For the first time, even the Zelvar could not deny it. Humans were extraordinary. They were not the fragile, weak beings the galaxy had mocked for centuries. They endured. They adapted. They fought not only with skill but with heart. Every lost ship, every fallen soldier, every sacrifice had become a testament to the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Alara stood on the bridge, looking out at the battlefield, her hands clenched in quiet determination. They thought we were weak, she whispered to herself, voice trembling with both grief and pride. But we endure. We survive. We fight. And they will never forget us. The battle was far from over, but the Terran fleet had learned a vital truth. Sometimes, it was not raw power that won the war. Sometimes it was the courage to endure, the strength to sacrifice, and the unyielding belief in each other. Humanity had shown the galaxy the first glimpse of its true power, and it was more terrifying, more beautiful, and more unstoppable than anyone could have imagined. The battle in the Andaris sector had raged for days, but the tide was turning. The Terran fleet, battered and exhausted, had endured the relentless attacks of the Zelvar. Every human ship carried scars, every crew member bore the weight of loss, but they had refused to break. And now, the galaxy began to see something it had never seen before. Humans were not weak. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the horizon, her eyes scanning the remnants of the battlefield. Smoke and debris floated across the void, punctuated by streaks of energy as damaged ships tried to regroup. The Zelvar fleet, once arrogant and confident, now hesitated. Their formations wavered, their movements uncertain. The aliens could no longer ignore the humans' resilience, their ingenuity, or their unyielding spirit. Alara turned to her crew. "This is our moment," she said firmly, voice steady despite exhaustion. "We have endured. We have adapted. We have survived. Now we push forward, not just to fight, but to show the galaxy what humanity truly is." Across the fleet, humans responded with renewed determination. Small frigates darted through enemy lines, disabling weapons and engines with pinpoint precision. Pilots coordinated attacks with each other, communicating with calm efficiency even in the chaos of battle. Engineers rerouted power, repaired shields, and kept carriers alive under fire. Every human acted with courage and clarity, each sacrifice strengthening the resolve of those still fighting. The Zelvar, who had once sneered at humanity, began to whisper among themselves. How can a species so small be so organized?" one asked, his voice shaking. "They are not afraid. They endure. They fight together as one. It is unnatural." Ilara smiled faintly, though her eyes were heavy with fatigue. "It is what it means to be human," she whispered to herself. "We endure because we must. We fight because we care, and we survive because we cannot do otherwise." A young pilot whose ship had taken heavy damage radioed in, voice trembling. "Commander, I can't hold much longer." Ilara's gaze softened, but her voice remained firm. "You can. You fight not just for yourself, but for everyone. That is strength. That is humanity. Trust in it. Trust in each other. You are never alone." The pilot inhaled deeply, determination returning. She maneuvered her ship with courage and skill, striking a decisive blow against a Zelvar dreadnought. Across the battlefield, similar victories began to accumulate. The humans were small and outnumbered, but their coordination, their bravery, and their unbreakable spirit allowed them to push back. Even the Zelvar generals could no longer deny the truth. The humans were extraordinary. Their resilience, their willingness to endure losses, and their determination to protect each other had transformed the battlefield. They were not just survivors. They were warriors in a league the galaxy had never imagined. Alara watched as a group of human ships executed a brilliant maneuver, encircling a Zelvar command vessel and forcing it to retreat. Cheers erupted across the fleet's comms, but they were tempered with the memory of those who had fallen. Every victory was bittersweet, every triumph a reminder of the cost of courage. Yet even in grief, humanity's resolve remained unbroken. Ilara's voice echoed across the fleet, filled with emotion and authority. Remember the fallen. Honor them with every action. Push forward. Show the galaxy who we are. As the humans advanced, the Zelvar could only watch in disbelief. They had assumed victory was guaranteed, that humans were fragile and weak. Now they realized the terrible truth. Humans could endure suffering, adapt under pressure, and fight with courage and intelligence that no alien could match. Their strength was not in size nor in firepower, but in heart. In the aftermath of the battle, the surviving Zelvar withdrew, leaving the Terran fleet battered but victorious. The humans had not only survived, they had turned the tide. They had rewritten the rules of war and demonstrated a power that no alien had understood. Commander Voss stood silently on the bridge, staring into the endless stars. She thought of the young pilots, the engineers, the soldiers who had fought and died. She thought of the courage that had flowed through the fleet like a river, unstoppable and pure. Humanity had shown the galaxy a truth that could never be forgotten. They were not weak. They were unbreakable. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Stories of human courage spread from system to system. The small, fragile species that everyone had mocked had survived the impossible. They had endured where others would have fallen, and in that endurance they had revealed something extraordinary. Humans were not merely survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. Alara allowed herself a brief smile. Humanity had endured the storm, fought with courage, and changed the perception of the galaxy forever. They had shown not just strength but heart, and in doing so, they had revealed the truth that would echo through every star system for generations. Never underestimate a human. The battle had ended, but the legend of humanity was only beginning. The battle in the Andera sector was over. Silence had returned to the stars, broken only by the hum of the surviving Terran ships and the drifting wreckage of the defeated Zelvar. The humans who remained were exhausted, their bodies sore, their minds heavy with grief for those who had fallen. Yet despite everything, a sense of triumph filled the fleet. Humanity had endured the impossible and had emerged victorious. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the horizon, gazing out at the remains of the battlefield. Ships floated silently, some damaged beyond repair, others limping home with crews battered but alive. She thought of the young pilots who had faced death without hesitation, the engineers who had worked tirelessly to keep their comrades alive, and the soldiers who had charged fearlessly into the heart of danger. Each one of them was a hero. Each had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. Across the fleet, celebrations were quiet but heartfelt. Survivors tended to the wounded, repaired their ships, and whispered names of friends lost in the fight. Even in victory, humans remembered their sacrifices, honoring them with every action, every word, every moment of courage that had carried them through the battle. Ilara's mind wandered back to the beginning of the conflict, when the Zelvar had mocked humanity, calling them weak and fragile. Those voices, once so full of arrogance, were now drowned out by awe and respect. The galaxy had witnessed the truth. Humans were not weak. They were adaptable, resilient, and unbreakable. Their strength did not lie in massive ships or destructive weapons alone, but in heart, courage, and unity. On the bridge, a young pilot approached her, tears streaking her face. "Commander, we did it. We actually did it. We survived. We won." Alara placed a hand on the pilot's shoulder, her eyes soft but strong. "Yes," she said, "and not just for ourselves. We won for everyone who believed in us. for those who will come after us, and for the galaxy to see what humans can truly achieve. The humans began their journey home, carrying with them stories of bravery that would echo for generations. Tales of the pilots who dodged impossible fire, the engineers who defied death to save their ships, and the soldiers who sacrificed everything to protect their friends spread across the stars. These stories inspired awe, admiration, and even fear in those who had once doubted them. Even the Zelvar, who had once mocked and underestimated humanity, could no longer deny it. Their generals spoke quietly among themselves, their confidence replaced by respect and unease. "They are unlike anything we imagined," one whispered. "They are not weak. They are something more, something we cannot predict or control." Back on Earth, news of the victory traveled fast. Children gazed at the stars with wonder, dreaming of the day they might join the brave souls who had fought among them. Citizens celebrated in streets and halls, proud not just of the victory but of the courage and heart their species had shown. Humanity had proven itself on a galactic stage. Elara walked along the deck of the Horizon looking at her crew, each one weary but proud. She thought of the lives lost, the battles fought, and the victories won. Humanity had endured pain, fear, and loss, but it had also proven that no force in the galaxy could break the spirit of a united people. She allowed herself a quiet smile. The humans who had once been dismissed as fragile, weak, or insignificant were now legends. The galaxy had learned the truth. Strength was more than weapons or size. Strength was heart, courage, and the refusal to give up no matter the odds. Humans embodied all of it. Years later, the story of the Andaris sector would still be told. Statues of the heroes stood on distant space stations, plaques bore the names of the fallen, and songs celebrated the courage of humanity. Every time a new generation looked to the stars, they would see proof that humans were unstoppable. That no matter how small, how outnumbered, or how underestimated, humanity could endure, inspire, and triumph. Elara gazed one last time at the stars, feeling both exhaustion and pride. The galaxy had laughed at humans for centuries. Now it would remember them forever. They had endured, they had fought, and they had triumphed. Humanity's legend was no longer just a dream. It was reality. "They thought we were weak," Elara whispered softly. "But the galaxy has learned the truth. Humans are unbreakable." And in the endless expanse of space, that truth would shine for all time, a testament to courage, heart, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity.